Hello, welcome to another episode of Tiny Nest. I'm Kiva.
And I'm Jake. This series is following our tiny house project from the early stages through to completion and beyond.
This episode is about framing our loft, the roof, and a couple miscellaneous other things that didn't fit into our other videos.
So we identified a bit of an issue with our vapor barrier. You'll remember that we left a bunch of excess underneath the subfloor and then wrapped it over top and sandwiched it beneath the bottom plates, which you can see here. And at some point a bit of moisture got onto the subfloor and we started seeing beads of water forming on the inside of the vapor barrier, and they had nowhere to evaporate to. And after a few days they were still there, so we realized that we should probably have a slit in here to allow this edge of the plywood to breathe to the outside. Eventually this will be covered with the sheathing, obviously, but we want it to be able to expel its moisture. So we did cut into it and it dried out, so we're gonna go ahead and do it all the way around. And another consideration regarding this is that the vapor barrier is supposed to be on the warm side of the insulation, which it is on the floor, but because out here it's over top of the flange, this is kind of the cold side, so it's probably not best to have the vapor barrier out here. So again, we're gonna cut it, and it'll still remain a full sheet beneath the subfloor, and what we have wedged underneath the bottom plate and on the inside we'll still be able to fold up and mate and have a nice vapor barrier with just this edge being allowed to breathe. Here's a real quick tip that I wanted to share with you, and I'm no carpenter, but this worked really well for us. We've got these bird's mouth cuts on all of our roof framing members, one on each end, and rather than measuring them all one at a time manually, I made a little jig with the measurements already on it using a scrap piece from the initial angled cut that we had to make on all of them. So all I had to do was hold it up like this, which matches the angles, make a mark there, turn it over, matches the angles again, make another mark there, take the speed square parallel with this face, start at my mark here, make a line 3.5 inches in, and then make a line between the end of that and this mark, and then I had the piece that I had to cut out. And I had a different jig for the top and the bottom because they're slightly different cuts. We put on the sub fascia, which is just 2x4s, around the whole perimeter of the roof, and that's part of standing off the final finished fascia board that will go on.
Alright, so we have some exposed loft joists in the living room of the tiny house, so we've just taken some of our lumber here, sanded it down, and we're just applying an indoor stain so that it looks nice.
The first stain we tried turned out really orange, much more so than we expected. It's a sample of it right there. So we just went back to the building supply place and did some tests and picked this one, which is much more neutral.
Behold our loft joists. It was pretty exciting to get these in because it kind of gave us a sense of what it's going to be like to be in the tiny house. Before we put them in, I stained them with an oil-based stain and then put like a finishing stain on them as well. Our loft joists are actually just sanded down 2x6s that we got in our first order of lumber, and we decided to stain them before we put them up just because we thought it would be easier.
To get the joists installed properly, we started with one screw on each end and then threw a piece of plywood on top to see if everything was even, but we found a gap under a couple of the joists. So we went back and shimmed them up until we were happy with how even they all were. And then we went and did a permanent fastening with the ring shank nails. The build hasn't been completely without challenges so far. This joist was quite twisted, and we wanted to use it anyway because we'd already stained it. And we had to get pretty fancy with some clamps and pre-drilling. And then another element to it was that we didn't want to have any fasteners visible on the side that will be the finished side. So we came in from the back with screws to fasten it down.